I'm sorry, our Honorary Secretary of the Istd Kochi chapter, Aniruddhan, also will be accompanying them to the stage. Joseph Philipson, you are also wanted out there. You can be seated up there. We are starting the valedictory function right now. I would request the chapter chairman, Mr. P.T. George, to do the welcome address and the presidential address.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished chief guest for the day, for the function, Dr. Ashok IAS, our National President, Dr. Rajeshri Narendran, Organizing Committee Chairman, Sri Jose P. Philip, Honorary Secretary, Kochi Chapter, Dr. K.K. Aniruddhan, and dear friends and colleagues. We are extremely happy to come to the valedictory session of the Southern Regional Conference of Istd. We had the inaugural session with Mr. M.S. Onnikrishnan, Professor J. Philip, and our National President Rajeshri Narendran speaking, and followed by 4 technical sessions on learning to be innovative, human resource development, enhancing organizational effectiveness, building knowledge leadership. We had 8 speakers for these programs. This is all on the concept, on the theme of the conference, learning for development. This is to set the agenda and the ambience for learning. The small way of the mementos was also appreciated by everyone. That's also a big learning. So that's how we are coming to the valedictory session of the day. I would start with the formal welcome to our chief guest, Dr. B. Ashok IAS. Dr. Ashok is a graduate of veterinary science from Manuti. He joined the IAS while undergoing research training in biotechnology in IVRI, Uttar Pradesh in 1998. He is also an alumnus of London, Turin, and Duke universities in various postgraduate programs. Dr. Ashok was the Chief of Staff of Union Minister for Agriculture and Food, and Deputy Director and Coach Director in the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie. Dr. Ashok had jointly won the Best Indian Social Science Research Paper Award in 2009 for his study on social exclusion in Madurai with Dr. Daras Ahmad from the IDRC, Canada, and has been an occasional lecturer to Institute of Social Studies, Hague, National Forest Academy, Dehradun, Indian Institute of Public Administration, New Delhi, Maastricht Business School and School of Government, Pune. He has been awarded the fellowship from Italian Cultural Institute and University of Maastricht. He has published several papers in peer-reviewed journals and is a columnist in various national publications in public policy matters. He was Executive Director, Jalanidhi, and District Collector, Pathanamthitta, earlier in the state. Presently, he is the Vice Chancellor of Kerala University of Veterinary and Animal Sciences. On behalf of all of you and the Istd Kochi chapter, I extend you a very warm welcome to this function. We have been honored by the full-time presence of our National President, Dr. Rajeshri Narendran, from the beginning till the last hour. So we are extremely happy and we are honored. We welcome you to this valedictory function. I also welcome our organizing committee chairman, Sri Jose P. Philip, Managing Director, Tech Pro Infra Projects Limited. Actually, when 90 days back, we started thinking about deliberating on conducting this program. it was only banking on him, his leadership, ably supported by S.R. Nair and A.S. Girish. Unless their support was there, their time, effort. And actually, the last few weeks we were practically using Dr. Jose Philip's office as the convention secretary, as we are a very infant organization and we don't have a full-time office. So that is what we cherish and we wanted to make it. Definitely the proceeds from this also will help in opening up a building for Istd Kochi chapter. So we are extremely happy. I should also thank the support from the institute, XIME, right from the president to dean, assistant dean, HOD, all the students here. They were very extremely supporting us, and I should also welcome the XIME team to this valedictory session. The organizing committee, the other members, we had our Jairaj from CR, Ajesh Kumar from Apollo, Dominic from Lakeshore Hospital, David from Intercard Systems, Sri Kumar from Apollo, MAS Menon, the consultant, Dr. Aniruddhan, our secretary, and also actively involved in the last few weeks in organizing this program. I take this opportunity to thank them personally and also to welcome them to the valedictory function. We should also welcome the sponsors, the Gas Authority of India, Kochi Refineries Limited, the ONGC, and their support has made this program a successful one. And I take the opportunity to welcome the managers and the team from the sponsoring organizations. The participation of the conference becomes a successful only when there are a large crowd of the delegates present. I take this opportunity to thank each one of the organizations sponsoring the delegates to make this 2 days program a successful, as well as the B schools who are also actively involved in the learning process. So we give a little bit of a focus to the business schools because learning is our domain and the students and the B schools are integral part. So that is we welcome each one of you to this valedictory function. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. P.T. George. Before
dignitaries attending this seminar, delighted to be here, and this is a rare experience for me that the amount just to be spent for the token of respect to the very important persons attending this program is granted to the students of our institution. Actually, it means our students, specially challenged, specially talented or differently abled students are treated as very important persons in this program. It is a valuable award for them and the institution serving for their institution. And I thank you everyone attending this program and the people behind this program. May God bless you. Thank you very much for this competition.
One is the summing of the program. It is to be done by Sri S.R. Nair. I should say one word. He was the past president of the chapter. Yes.
we will deem it as read. Because we have very limited time, I am supposed to be standing before my dignitaries on the days, all prestigious institutions who are taking part in this, ladies and gentlemen. I am supposed to be doing a summing up of the proceeds of 2 days of the event, which actually normally it's a very difficult thing to do. At the same time, just to say that who said what, or generally giving some level of authenticity and authorship to people who have spoken about that, I'll just touch upon and do something in a fast-paced move. It is said that normally, you said there are 2 ways of teaching. One is called the cat's way, the other is called the monkey's way. Because the cat carries the kitten wherever it goes. The monkey doesn't do so. And the monkey goes, the litters pile on. Okay, so I will just go at a fast pace, you pile on. Alright. Okay, we have started the inauguration with Mr. M.S. Unnikrishnan, who is Managing Director of Thermax India Limited. I was very enamored by the mellifluous, the lucid talk that he has delivered, and talk of very high content. And I also expect we will soon hear a talk like that from Dr. Ashok, and he's a fantastic orator and speaker. And Unnikrishnan has thought about generally, all of us trying to be the international citizen or international human being rather than a human being from a city or a state. He talked about academy, which is actually delivering science, science going to technology, and technology leading to commerce, and that is the process of creation of value and distribution of the wealth, he had said. And every speaker after speaker, everybody had really given large thrust or emphasized on the need of innovation, and we started with Mr. Unnikrishnan. And he said, do not push learning, let learning be taken in. Don't push learning, because if you push learning, it just doesn't get in. And we have a keynote address delivered by Professor J. Philip, who is the president of this institute, builder of this institute, and the founder. Spoke very well. It was printed and handed over to most of the delegates here. And he started by saying that in Harvard Business School, it is written, they said, because wisdom cannot be told. Wisdom and the learning has to be acquired. It has to be taken. Now, and he says most of the training does not deliver anything, and all of you will agree with that. In the last 2 days, you will have a lunch and go away, and the learning stops or it stays there. Okay. And he also said learning has to be experiential. Only when you experience, the learning happens. And then he gave a lot of examples of many things. And beautifully he had said, no matter where we are, there is always a better way. No matter where we are, there is always a better way in everything that we do. And that was the gist of what the keynote address. Mr. K.C. Mohan spoke about his experience in Mekong Ranji and steel sector. Mr. K.P. Ramesh, DGM of GAIL, was actually asking Istd to talk to people about being better citizens so that we can widen the roads and lay down the pipelines. Professor V.P. Narayan talked about active, reactive, proactive learners. And from there we went to technical session number 1, which was on the subject of learning to be innovative. And the first speaker was Professor Ganguly, who is a visiting faculty of about 2 or 3 IIMs. He talked about, in fact, I think I now start calling him, his name is actually Jodhinath Ganguly, so I have now called him Jodhinath Fossil Ganguly, because he said his son calls him Fossil because his son believes that he's an old man. He talked about design thinking. There were a lot of questions about design thinking. Another person who had he stood in because the speaker, Mr. M.P. Joseph, could not make it due to ill health, and that was Professor Istd Tyagaraj, Dean of Zyme. I think we should definitely give a round of applause for coming in at the shortest possible notice and delivering a wonderful speech and keeping you all enthralled and entertained with his jokes and about his daughter and son-in-laws and all of them, which went out very well. Okay, he had also said about 6 methods of actually taking care of innovation. On the technical session, one thing I would like to stress upon what he had mentioned among many things, is this: avoid negative thinking, which is something that, most of us, particularly we Ballus, normally indulge in, negative thinking. And also accept failure during innovation. All innovated item and every innovation is not going to be successful, and that was a good speech from him. Went on to technical session number 2, where Professor Matthew Manimala from IIMB, he's the head of OB and HR, IIMB. As a D2 session actually took us from a normal deliberation into a very sublime level of a philosophical level, as to the question started by saying that what is actually HRD? What a human resource. So it is a material or is a human being? So will the human being kindly stand up rather than the human resource kindly stand up? That was the question both the speakers actually put in. And he also stressed about the low quality of HDI, that is a human development indices among Indians. And that is something, unless we improve upon, we will not be able to produce a quality human being. That's a prime necessity when we are talking about this demographic dividend that he had said, demographic dividend of having the maximum number of youth available from across the world. Spoke a lot of things. And he said another very important thing. I think that if you have a takeaway from here, that should be the learning has to be the responsibility of the learner, not the teacher. We have a teacher-centric curriculum, which is what actually we have adopted all across. If you really think that okay, learning has to be the responsible learner, the teacher become a facilitator, and the learning happens while you undergo an experiential or your otherwise learning. So learning has to be the responsibility of the learner. And the second second speaker was Mr. Radhakrishnan Nair, and he asked the question, do we really care for human resource development, or is it a big lip service that we do? And he also asked the question to all of you, have all of us graduated from our animalness to become human beings? Okay, so the animal instinct still on, and he asked the question, what do you mean by HR development? Human resource development means what? That's the question that he had asked. Okay, now there is also other thing that he had said. He had actually went away by saying that become a human first, then we can develop later. So get out of your animalness and become a human, and we can develop later. Today morning we started technical session number 3 with Joseph Gora, head of Cognizant Kerala. He came and spoke about his experience in the software sector and the knowledge sector, and how do we cope up with this rapid, like the whitewater rafting that is happening in the corporate scenario. Given a lot of examples, some of the examples are really good, like how Kodak failed, how disruptive innovation happened. Okay, and he had given ample examples how in his company, that is Cognizant, software projects are actually cut into lesser ones, and he also given some successes that they had actually achieved by doing so. And the second speaker there was Mrs. Sushma Srikanth, the CEO of ABT McCormick Ingredients Limited. She is saying that okay, they have shifted from the beginning, from now when he has now taken over CEO, from production, productivity, efficiency and satisfaction, shifting into adaptiveness and innovation, or otherwise she said as development, where she said about the story of she had placed in before you her experience of ABT, and we have received it very well, and moving from black pepper to red pepper, and the other thing, baptism by fire that they are undergoing in doing these changes. Technical session number 4, which must be very vivid in your memory because it got ended just now with Dr. George Sleeper as well as Rajesh. Dr. George Sleeper had stressed about managing companies of tomorrow and how to create customer delight, and he stressed upon managing knowledge, and he also said how do you manage, how, it's very important. He said you cannot manage knowledge worker, he said you have to lead knowledge worker. So from a manager perspective you have to come to a leader perspective in case you want to lead knowledge workers. And Rajesh has given quite a bit of input, and that comes from a consultancy perspective, that too being from one of the largest consultants in the world. He had given a very informative as well as very interesting perspective about knowledge management. Is that knowledge creation has to be the strategy of the organization. He had talked about the innovation power that can be built in the organization. He talked about blue sky, probably because as a consulting company, they did not want to adopt any of the word that you see elsewhere. It was actually blue ocean, because if they were E&Y, they didn't want to call it blue ocean, they called it blue sky. So I think we should call it blue earth after this, after you have named. Okay, blue sky and bottom line creation, and spoke about entrepreneurship. That's the sum and substance of what it is. Probably I must have captured maybe about 1% to 10% of what is the deliberation that has happened. But within the time allotted, this is what's possible. We will now have, before the validity address, I would now request our national president to come and make a comment, and after that we shall have the validity address by Dr. Ashok. Madam.
Okay, I think few more are alive today. Yeah, I see as the front row of the flowers getting, little more down today, losing its shine. Similar way, few of the attendants of this conference, I've seen them sinking in the chair. So, and we are here to share the learning for development. So if you need to be learning, first you have to be awake, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is very much important, because unless you open the door for learning for yourself, nobody in this world can help you do that for you. So I want this to be a major takeaway, that please stay alive, stay awake. That is very important. Otherwise, it's better you don't come. I may be harsh, I may be very, very blunt in telling that, but this is what is happening in most of the conferences, and that should not be the fate of it. I'm harsh on it, but I'm sorry. I have to tell this. Second very important thing which I would definitely say is that those of you who are attending should know Istd more well, because we are #1 training professional body for last 43 years, having a spread and span of almost 50 chapters across India, and we are the member of International Federation for Training and Development Organization at the world level, and the benefits are many. So those of you who have not been our member, I would call upon you to be our revered member and reap the benefits from this. And secondly, I would also say that the membership drive at the Kochi chapter is on. So please take the benefit of that, because soon we are going to make the fee to be 15,000 for the life members. Right now it is 7,500. So take the benefit of this, and I wish all of you great professional career, health and happiness always. Thank you, SRC Kochi. This is wonderful.
And now an administrative officer, Dr. B. Ashok. Dr.
The chair, all the dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Philip, Dr. Mrs. Rajeshwari, Dr. George, Mr. Aniruddhan, and of course, Mr. Istd Nair for inviting me. Honestly, I came to meet and listen to Mr. Istd Nair. Somehow, I don't know whether you share my view. Listening to him even for a few seconds makes you eternally optimistic. You know, maybe this needs to be raised a little. Okay, thanks. So, we used to have him in quite many meetings in government, and you know what government meetings are like, you know. You really need a dose of optimism coming through the windows to make yourself, believe that things are happening, things are going to happen. So he used to provide that so nicely during our run-up when I was in the Department of Industries and Commerce, and no longer in the Department of Rajesh used to be there as well, the speaker of the previous session. It is such a pleasure to actually be with you and talk to you maybe for 20 minutes on the theme of your conference. I think that, I have the benefit of also the warning given by the National President on the need to sit upright and not to sink down in your chairs. It's really useful to, I could remind you of that. You know, it's your National President who has warned you, so you better stick to that. And since I'm in a university where I get to work with professors, after 15 years of leaving it for good, you know, when you got tired of professors, you got out of university. But I now find that I'm back in one, working with professors. I really like when they warn the students, you know, and they do this when I'm about to speak in my university. Now you better behave because your vice chancellor is going to speak. Not in particular because I'm going to speak of anything really useful. But their warning usually works, and I see no reason why it should not work today. That is my only hope. My only hope that I can make this. I've been sizing up the audience, and I think these are a group of fairly tough cats out there who are not particularly monkeyish in their learning. They are like cattish in their learning. They prefer to carry their learning with them, and they know that they have pretty much little to take from the speaker out here. That's how I gauged it, you know. Anyway, let's see. So let me try and make it light and interesting as possible. Possibly the only reason why I should be speaking to you, apart from my academic assignment as of now, is that I was in training for 3.5 years. And I was like training the untrainable, new recruits into the Indian administrative service in the country. So generally, directors don't find any faculty because people refuse to go there. Because these are people who are recruited through fairly tough, I won't say it's very tough, but a fairly steep pyramid of a selection. And people come there and feel that they have achieved everything and therefore they need not listen to anything. Or otherwise they start training the trainer. You know, it's like It's pretty easy. You go to the class and people give you fundas in the morning. I want to tell them, I have 10 years of experience, you are just out of a university and what you are saying is not possibly true, but he wouldn't listen to you. He would rather like to have the floor. But that was also, I was being paid for nothing, you know. You could prepare for a session, go to the class, and they would be talking to you for 15 minutes, you could be talking for 10 minutes and you still got paid. That was a plus side of it. Now, what happened during that tenure, an advertisement appeared in the Times of India. It read that wanted quality horses to train IAS officers. Now, one of our clerks had released it to the press. It did not create much of an issue per se, but somebody was canny enough to write to the director, asking him, have the director and faculty given up? That stood for a lot in what goes on for training. And when we celebrated the 50th anniversary of that academy, it's supposed to be very prestigious. This question was put to me by an expert panel as to, is not the horse riding segment a vestige of our colonial past and should it not be dispensed? Because these young trainees spend like 45 minutes every day to ride horses. Most of them finish it in the academy itself. They never get to ride horses, but for certain stations in India which are poorly connected. So, wouldn't you recommend disbanding horse riding as a module in this academy? I thought for it for a while and then advised the expert panel, no, we should retain it. So the chairman asked me, Mr. Ashok, I know that you are a very keen horseman, but apart from that, take it aside for a while. Tell me how it contributes. And I told him the obvious, that is possibly the only skill they learn out here. Because, you know, apart from being excellent judges of human character, my own sense is that the horse is the best judge of the trainer. Because I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of horse riding, but if you don't convince your horse that you are confident of mastering it, it will never listen to your command. This is very clear. I was there possibly for 2 years or so, every day, 5:30 in the morning in the yard, in the stables, where hundreds of young probationers have tried to mount horses. And in the next 5 minutes, I always knew who is going to be the better officer. Take it from me. So you should not rather go to a management school and try to be a manager. Proceed to the stable if you can and relive. I'm not joking at all. And I'm not saying this because I'm leading an animal science and biosciences university. Ask, and I'm not selling my trade. Try riding the horse, it will tell you whether you can manage or not. And the British have been extremely wise in their choice of subjects to train administrators, you know. They put the best trainers, and we made the right advertisement as well. Good quality horses to train officers. Because I have seen, like a trolley is like 10 trainees and you have 5 horses. It's 8 will fail to mount the first attempt, you know. So putting them on top of the horse in the morning is itself a highly pleasurable and sadistic exercise, you know. I used to totally enjoy, you know. I used to tell them, look, you seem to have qualified the toughest pyramidal competitive examination in the whole world. That is your claim. Please mount the horse, you know. Mount Trishul. And Trishul is like 4 feet or 5 feet, tall horse. And it has a very uneasy habit of rather, moving backwards when you try to mount. So you're trying to mount the horse is going backwards. I know that. So since I know all the horses, I know what it's going to do to the training. And by the time you finish the first 3 sessions, I have noticed that the better officers always emerge. There have been occasions when some extremely poor rider has proven himself later in the field. That obviously, there could be what you call an outlier, in statistical parlance, whom I predict to be a failure, but he actually, since he has an advantage of a motor car in the field, he succeeds. But otherwise, the horse is always a very, very perceptive judge. I have never understood how it senses. But it's clear that it senses intention, it senses courage, it senses courage under fire, it senses, for example, foresight, it senses vision. So at the end of the day, I told the expert panel that cancel any module, I don't care. Take out management from our entire training session. Forget about the IIMs, but let's keep the horses. I was one of those in the minority who kept fighting for the horse, but the expert panel went with us. At the end of the day, it's a long-lived tradition. So, and since we also tend to buy the white man's wisdom all the time, they said the whites introduced it, so there should be something intelligent about it. So let's keep the horses, Mr. Ashok. Horses seem to be. So I simply said it will lose the character of this whole place. So have a few horses around it. And I also asked, if you take away the horses, then what is different from an IIM? What is it that you are going to do special, different from Indian School of Business Management? They said that's a moot point. We got to keep it away. So let's anyway. So the horses still remain, and you can also get trained in horse polo if you go to Missouri, thanks to efforts of yours truly as well. Well, I'll now try and talk to you now that a few of you have left your search and setup. I'll try and discuss something which I thought will catch your attention on your theme, which is learning for development. I know fully well that you are defining development in your parlance of training and development as in improving human beings, okay? And I think somebody did make this interesting speech about taking people out of your animalistic, isn't it? Animalistic is different. Animalness, and making them more human. That's a very laudable objective. And considering the fact that I was driving from Tirunavaya in Malappuram district to reach here today, and I counted like 11 Malayalis who are actually peeing against walls right in towns today. I was wondering what's wrong with these guys. Because they are small towns. I'm not against somebody peeing against a wall in a town. But the whole question is, we are pretending to be a wannabe tourist destination. You are marketing yourself. And the toilet is within sight. Okay, this is a point. Had he been doing it in parts of Uttar Pradesh, parts of Bihar, I would be doing it myself. Because you have to give the benefit of doubt to him because there are no toilets around. So therefore, you tend to relieve yourself in a field or wherever you can get some cover or a tree cover or whatsoever. But I was wondering, from Tirunavaya till Cochin, for example, there are hundreds of toilets where you can really find. So this point that you got to rescue the individual from animal instincts, forget the anesthetic part of it. You see, you are driving in the morning, and this is like the Guruvayur route, and there are a lot of, if you are really concerned about others, you would rather walk into the next tea shop or hotel and buy a decent cup of tea, and then relieve yourself in his toilet, and you would also have the satisfaction of having paid for it, But look at this, why this human being decides to get out of, actually I encountered somebody who is doing it after getting out of a Volvo. I thought that this guy should behave properly because the biker